Then Colleen, I'm sure, will pop in at some point. If Jen's here, we can put her on the spot and she could do the whole lot. If Colleen doesn't quite make it.
Sherry, when's ours due, can I ask?
You're second in my list, but I can rearrange the order if you want to be moved to last.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm sure she'll be here beforehand.
All right, we'll make that flexible and we'll see how we go. All right, welcome everybody to Room D, where we're doing professional developers for educators this morning. My name is Cherie, so I'm your facilitator for the day. We've just been, or for this session I should say, we've just been chatting around when we would do questions, and it's seems like we got a nice synergy between all the titles there, so we're going to save it until the end. So each of the presenters will do their presentation and then we'll do questions at the end. And we might get started. So Angela and her team are first on my list to get started. So if I'll hand over to Angela, I'll put the clock on for 20 minutes or 15 minutes thereabouts, and we'll keep to time that way. So please take it away, Angela.
Thanks, Shirley. Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Devo from Deakin University, and I'm presenting with my Australian Catholic University colleagues, who you'll meet shortly. We are from the south, and two of us are from the deep south in lockdown country, hence the hair. It's been a long time since a haircut. From Wurundjeri country, I would like to acknowledge elders past, present and future, and any Indigenous people present. Every time I try to put my foot down, it feels very unstable. This is a quote from an academic who did professional development through a graduate certificate in higher education at ACU and participated in our recent research. Last year, we presented on the impacts of the grad cert in higher education in terms of teaching excellence. The theme of today's presentation is from a more in-depth exploration of individual academics and their personal and professional experience of that professional development. We are all very familiar with the instability that has driven and drives current trends in higher education, and that's only been intensified in 2020. Traditional university practices, as we know, have been disrupted through globalisation, massification, internationalisation, corporatisation and technology transformations. We're operating in scarce resources with competition, quality audits and international benchmarking. These have shifted policies and driven macrostructural changes. And academic roles have been differently categorised: permanent, contract, sessional, and diversified to either teaching focused, teaching and research, or research intensive roles. Many would say that these trends have impacted on academic identity. Our study was interested in the role of professional development in navigating this instability and academic identity from the perspective of the academics. Over to you, Georgia.
Okay, I'm Georgia. Just to contextualise this a bit better, Angela was working with us at ACU, and our team developed and teach this graduate certificate in higher education. So we thought we'd better, in line with good practice in scholarship of learning and teaching, we thought we'd better evaluate it, its effectiveness. And lucky Angela still talks to us, so she's still part of our team. So we thought we'd evaluate it and focus on the theme of identity. And, you know, most of the literature indicates that identity is something that doesn't develop consciously with a lot of people. It's not a passive process. And one of the things in our repertoire that we use to develop that shift in identity is the graduate certificate in higher education within ACU. Most of our academics who are new to us come with a fairly fixed identity around their past, so that they might identify as a clinician from a particular background, particularly in health, or they just really don't identify as teachers. So we assist them to, in a metacognitive way to make that transition to a teacher. So we thought we better evaluate that. Obviously, we got an ethics application approved and did some semi-structured interviews with academic staff. I think we interviewed, I can't tell you how many we interviewed in the end. Somebody else might be able to.
11.
11.
Okay, 11. Our underlying question was, how does formal professional development undertaken by academic staff as a GCHE impact on identity? And so the rest of the discussion will focus on those shifts in identity. That's all from me. I think, who's next?
Me, I'm next. So we just wanted to share with you the theoretical lens that we're using, applying in our data analysis of these interview transcripts. So John Hattie recently reminded us of Chickering's work in earlier work in establishing a definition of academic identity as involving self-esteem, self-efficacy, and developing purpose. And Hattie has claimed that that definition remains relevant today. So just quickly to define and discriminate self-esteem from self-efficacy. Self-esteem is a mentality. It's the way a person thinks and feels about oneself and others, and is measured by the way a person acts. So for a teacher, for an academic, this might be how good they think they are as a teacher, or how good their colleagues are as teachers. Whereas self-efficacy is more focused on the confidence that an academic may have to take action to achieve objectives. And this, of course, may speak to how much they can change the curriculum or the teaching and learning strategy. So they're related but distinct. And now we're going to share with you a selection of quotes that we have analysed to date that are drawn from these interviews and that we think speak to establishing a more fuller sense of what self-esteem and self-efficacy movements are happening for staff who've completed the GCHE. So I'll hand over to Vanessa to share some of these quotes with you.
Unmute myself. Okay, so this is just a little snapshot of the data. So yeah, as mentioned, we interviewed 11 academics. Now they range from sort of sessional 1 day a week to, continuing early career, continuing sort of long-term staff. Someone described themselves as institutionalized. And so staff moving into leadership roles. And I think I've got to double check this, but I'm pretty sure that everyone was education focused. And so as Alison said, we've sort of, our preliminary analysis has shown this sort of shift along the continuum. There's everyone, there's sort of demonstrable gains for everyone that's taken part in the grad cert, but improved self-esteem, self-efficacy was sort of very, very common across the interviewees, regardless of role and status. Everyone reported some sort of increased awareness of their academic identity, so how they fit into that sort of academic machine, and an identity that's linked to that language of SOTL. In many cases, but the ability to which they can act on or implement change varies. So, look, we've got question marks on these titles up here because we're not quite sure where we're putting all of this. But this is just our.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I can't see the slide of the quote. Have you put that slide up?
Let me just double check.
That's it. Oh, now I can see it.
Oh, now you can see it. Oh, that's weird. When I I was presenting in present mode. So if I go to present mode, can you not see it?
I can see it now.
Okay. Everyone can see it? I can't see your video things. So I'm just going to have to. So just please unmute yourself and yell out at me if you need, because I can't see the chat or anything while I've got it in present mode. Okay, so the first, so I'm just going to talk through some of these quotes, and we'll see we've got, really, this sort of left side of the quotes sort of come from people who have, reported this either increased sense of awareness or self-esteem, but lack the sort of the opportunity to do anything about that, to influence any change because of a variety of reasons. So there's this kind of, this one here is from a sessional who's, says, can see this, envisage this culture of excellence, but as a sessional academic, I'm unempowered and unwelcomed. And this same interviewee is a sessional, and this is one of we found a really powerful quote. I'm the supermarket night shelf stacker of the university. That's what I do. I stack the shelves at night. But there's also this sort of increased sense of awareness. So Charlie says this is a hopeless and horrible description, but the burden's not on me. It's the supermarket. As much as I'd love to change the university of the world, and I can't. The grad cell has helped me to be sort of less harsh about that burden of changing everything around me. Then we have Kira, who's an early career continuing academic who was actually sessional when they did the grad cert, and it's not pencil, credits the grad cert with helping them to get a continuing role. But they've, so this person, Kira's got this, got all this newfound knowledge and confidence, but haven't developed as a scholar because they're just sort of clinging on for dear life. So they're just, on this wild ride of a continuing academic role. This is from someone Kim, who is in teaching and leadership. So someone who has moved into a leadership role, but is as they say, leadership roles will suck every minute, every bit of your brain space, every bit of your spare time. So, even though they might be in a position, unlike Charlie, who, they are in a leadership role, that leadership role sort of, counterproductive. And then this is just the quote from our title, which I just put in, what I think is really another one that we really liked. What I'm lacking at the moment is some good footing to put that confidence on. Every time I try to put my foot down, it feels very unstable. So you see, this is a continuing staff member, course coordinator. So you see this sort of, there's conflicting sense of purpose here, that sort of institutional sense of purpose and individual, and how much you're able to act on that sense of purpose is sort of dependent on where you sit. But there are various constraints regardless. So now we'll go on to sort of the second set of quotes are sort of highlight some of the more positive outcomes of engaging in the grad cert, and comes back to sort of what we referred to on slide 2, that development of metacognitive awareness that may illuminate and or shift sense of professional identity. So this is from Kira, the early career continuing. Confidence has gone through the roof. So it's that's what the grad cert's done, giving me a feeling that I genuinely deserve a seat at this table. There's quite a few these next few quotes that show how the grad cert has helped to increase that awareness or illumination of the academic identity. So this is Lee, who's continuing, but when they started the grad cert, it was really green, guided my research academic as identity as an academic. This is from Robin, so I feel like I can call myself an academic educator. I think this is one, it might have been one of our clinical educators that Georgia was referring to. And I love Charlie, who's, on the other side, talked about themselves as supermarket shelf stacker, but at the same time, it's made me feel like less of an imposter and more like a proper academic. And then I'll just finish off with this last quote. This was really interesting for us, because this person is Kim, who's in the teaching and leadership role, who was, a bit more critical of the grad cert out of all the interviewees, in that, they, for various reasons, they were in education, they felt they knew the content and didn't really need to go through it. But then towards the end of the interview, we were able to get out from this person that they did actually, there were some concrete material gains, so using it to support my scholarship. I got a faculty teaching award, university citation, and then a foundation for their scholarship. So being able to write things up for the grad cert in a way that they weren't being able to do before. So I'm just going to go, oh, what did I do? Sorry. Now I'm just going to hand over to Alison, who's just going to wrap up. Sorry about that, guys.
Thanks, Ness. Yeah, so just briefly to conclude, we have discovered at this point that the GCHE is having an impact illuminating academic identity for GCHE participants and also enabling some shifts in this academic identity. But these shifts are constrained by breadth of experience they bring into the program, and also by the seniority of their role and the decisions they're able to take. This speaks directly to self-efficacy and a sense of purpose, and we're going to continue to explore that in further analysis, and we'll be publishing a paper about this at some point. The most pleasing result for this conference, is very contextual as well, is that all of the participants developed an enhanced SOTL profile, whether that was in addition to an existing discipline-based research profile or whether that was initiating that profile for them. And one objective we have from our continuing analysis of the data is to try and develop a continuum that can illustrate for academics the trajectory of the development of academic identity that's possible in what remains a very unstable university context. So that's all we have to share with you today, and at the end of the other sessions, perhaps you'll have some questions or comments which we would welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Angela and team. That was very interesting. Sorry, I've been a little sidetracked by stuff that needs to be done for the rest of the day. But yeah, it was interesting. Identity is a challenging one, and one that I've got to try work my head around, in that we, as people are aware, we're a dual university. So we've got vet people and higher education people together within the schools or now colleges. So getting everybody to be looking at each other as a professional educator, despite the context that they're teaching in, is going to be an interesting challenge. All right, no questions yet. Let's move on.